As a whole realize that nectar has a ton of medical advantages, which is basically because of the enormous number of nutrients and minerals that it contains. Notwithstanding, this is just obvious in unadulterated nectar, and a great deal of what you find at the store isn't unadulterated nectar. A great deal of times, nectar is blended in with glucose arrangements or other nectar with a high measure of water. This cycle is called being contaminated, and it detracts from the medical advantages that you get from home. Anyway, how might you tell if your nectar is unadulterated? Today we will examine only that. 1. Cementing of the honey. Investigate the container and see what the nectar within it resembles. Extra time, all nectar will solidify into something looking like granulated sugar. In the event that it is solidified in the store, this is unadulterated nectar. In the event that it is fluid, you could hold back to check whether it sets. Placing it in the cooler will accelerate that cycle. Assuming your nectar never transforms into gems, all things considered, you don't have unadulterated nectar on your hands. 2. Peruse the label. Before you buy any items, you ought to consistently figure out how to understand names. Ensure that the fixing rundown of the nectar doesn't contain high fructose corn syrup or glucose. These are two substances that are typically added to nectar that hold it back from setting. Organizations additionally add this to the nectar so they get more nectar out of their group. 3. Test it. There are alternate approaches to test to check whether your nectar is unadulterated. Blend some nectar in with water, then, at that point add 4 or 5 drops of vinegar. In the event that the fluid turns frothy, that isn't unadulterated nectar. It might have a substance called gypsum added to it. Blend a tablespoon of nectar in with water. In the event that the nectar breaks up effectively, it isn't unadulterated, as unadulterated nectar ought to stay unblemished when plunged into water. Utilize a match to attempt to consume the nectar, as unadulterated nectar will illuminate and consume because of the sugar content. Other bad quality nectar generally contains water that will keep it from lighting and consuming. Put some nectar onto a spoon and hold it up. On the off chance that the nectar falls rapidly, this isn't unadulterated nectar. Great quality, unadulterated nectar will remain on the spoon or fall gradually. Utilize a little piece of old, lifeless bread and put it in nectar. Leave it in for 10 minutes and afterward haul it out of the nectar. On the off chance that the bread is still hard, you have unadulterated nectar. In the event that the nectar has added water, the bread will be wet. You can likewise utilize iodine to recognize unclean nectar. Simply blend nectar, water and a couple of drops of iodine. Assuming the combination becomes blue, the nectar has a type of added flour or starch in it. Testing your nectar will guarantee that you have unadulterated nectar that will give you the medical advantages of nectar that you are aware of and care about. Do you purchase nectar regularly? Did you realize that nectar can be messed with by producers to all the more likely meet their main concern, as opposed to your well-being? Sound off in our remark segment to proceed with this conversation.